basketball. No. I don't remember the last time I played basketball. That never happened.
What a fact.
It never happened. If I said I was going to serve you, I'm going to this story. Ask about my rest.
Wisconsin, the Honorable Tony Evers.
The governor makes his way in.
Sometimes when you're watching these things at home, there's a lot more of a run-up to the speech. I'll tell you, that all happened before you tuned in. Everybody's ready to get going here tonight. The governor's been waiting to walk through those doors for a few minutes now. Back here in the Assembly parlor, you see him shaking hands now with lawmakers from both sides of the aisle. He's speaking with reaching out to the Democratic side there.
Maybe the governor and His folks wanted to get things going, given that there is this snow coming in. It was not as heavy as expected, but you were pointing out earlier, Sean, that when Governor Walker gave his first State of the State, it was one big snowstorm.
It's one of the first things I thought of, and then, it feels remarkable, and then yet again, this is Wisconsin, and it's snowing in January, so maybe not so remarkable, but, that is one thing they have in common anyway. There's the governor now shaking hands with Democratic Senator Tim Cullen, Chief Justice Patience Rogensack, other members of the Supreme Court there to watch the speech.
We know that his family is up above watching. Looks as though people are ready for the governor, Tony Evers, to begin his first State of the State address.
Going to be a busy month, or busy few months for the governor. He had that inauguration address, the State of the State. He's going to give his first budget address too. That's going to be in late February, a little later than usual, not as late as he had hoped.
At this time, it is my honor to introduce the governor of the great state of Wisconsin, the Honorable Tony Evers.
Yourselves out. Thank you all. Thank you and good evening. Honorable Supreme Court Justices, tribal nation leaders, constitutional officers. Whoops, sorry. How about if we start over? Start clapping again. I did that on purpose, sorry. Thank you and good evening, Honorable Supreme Court Justices, tribal nation leaders, constitutional officers, Major Dunbar, and members of the Wisconsin National Guard, as well as active and retired members of our armed forces, Senate President Roth, Majority Leader Fitzgerald, Minority Leader Schilling, Speaker Voss, and Minority Leader Hintz, Cabinet members, legislators, distinguished guests, and most importantly, the people of Wisconsin, welcome and thank you for being here tonight. Thank you. Before we get started, I also want to recognize someone else who's here with us tonight. He's a Wisconsin institution and embodies both the soul of our campus here in Madison and the spirit of our state. Marching band director and director of bands at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Dr. Mike LaCrone. Mike. This year marks the 50th and final year leading UW's marching band, as he will be retiring at the end of this year. He's directed halftime shows for nearly half of Camp Randall's existence and has seen coaches and chancellors and band members come and go. But even more than the stop at the top or the fifth quarter post-game routines, the professor will be remembered for being a remarkable leader, teacher, and inspirer, not just for his students, but for people all across our great state. So tonight we honor the professor and thank him for his service. I'd also like to introduce my former junior prom date, Kathy, who's up there tonight in the gallery tonight. Kathleen, where are you? All my other kids and grandkids I'm sure, are watching from home, and I hope you're staying awake because this is probably the most important speech of your lifetime. And thank you, family, for supporting me. I love you all, so thank you very much. I'm Tony Evers, and I'm incredibly honored to be here tonight as the 46th governor of the great state of Wisconsin to say this. The state of our state is that we have work to do, and we're ready for bipartisan solutions. You know, a few weeks ago, I stood just outside of here where I took the oath of office and delivered my inaugural address. And I remind you today, just as I did weeks ago, of the spirit of our service, of the power that we have, and the responsibility that we bear. We are a state forged by the Wisconsin idea, the notion that education informs our public policy and that knowledge should embrace the communities we're called to serve. But today, we're also a state among the worst to raise a black family, and we're a state that's spending more on corrections than our entire University of Wisconsin system. We are a state that once cultivated new technology from typewriters to automobiles. We've led the nation in innovation. But today, we are a state that's behind in broadband expansion, and we trail the country in startups and small business creation. We are a state that was the birthplace of Badger Care, and we've been a laboratory for democracy. But today, we are also a state where it becomes cheaper to get health care by driving across the Mississippi River. The realities we face are bigger than yours truly or any political party. The magnitude of our challenge require us to put people first because, as I've said it before, that is the promise of our service. So tonight, I'm asking you to join me in making good on that promise by moving forward together. Fixing our economy remains a top priority. That's why just this last week, I directed the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation to create an Innovation and Entrepreneurship Committee focusing on supporting our small businesses, seeding capital funds, and technology development. But there is more to an economy than counting job creation. And the state of our state is more than just our unemployment rate. The opportunity we have to offer is not just the number of jobs we create, it's counted too. It's counted too by the number of workers who will work 40 hours each week just to keep their family out of poverty. The strength of our success is not found solely in fiscal surplus. It's defined too by the number of our kids that will go to school hungry tomorrow. And the metric for my grandkids and your posterity is also not just what we keep in the coffers for a rainy day. It's measured too by the quality of the natural resources we're leaving behind for our kids and their grandkids after them. The state of our state is the work of Lisa, who is also in the gallery tonight. Lisa? Where are you, dear? Lisa is the founder and president of the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness. The foundation serves more than 1,000 women and girls working to eliminate health disparities affecting Black women, their families, and their communities. Thanks so much, Lisa. I appreciate your great work. The state of our state is also about the story of Jen, who grew up in Cashton. Because of the Affordable Care Act, Jen has access to comprehensive, patient-centered care that is tailored to her needs. Being able to afford services and insurance has allowed Jen to take control of her health from preventative to reproductive to behavioral health care. Jen is also here in the gallery tonight. Thank you much, Jen. The state of our state is the story of Jose, who came to Abbotsford from Mexico with his parents when he was 12 years old. Jose learned English through Abbotsford's English as a Second Language program and gained a sense of community when he signed up to play baseball in high school. Jose decided to stay here in Wisconsin. He still lives in Abbotsford, where he is raising his sons, Marco and Nicholas, and coaches their baseball team, the Broncos. And he has become, a naturalized citizen, and his son, Marco, and he are up in the gallery tonight. Please stand and be recognized. The story of our state is a story of students like Alex from Boyceville Middle School. Alex's teacher describes her as having the drive and passion that makes her such a strong student, and she's excited to come to work every single day. Alex has worked hard to turn things around in school and is now passing all of her classes, has no missed assignments, and has gone above and beyond to help other students too. And it's also the story of students like Diamond from Parker High School in Janesville, where the school nurse describes her as the strongest young lady she has had the pleasure of knowing. Diamond's family has had some tough times, but Diamond has persevered, is excelling in school, and has dreams of becoming a pediatrician or a pediatric nurse. Diamond is here in the gallery, and tonight I'm excited to announce that Alex and Diamond are first ever recipients of the Star Student Award in Wisconsin. Diamond, could you please stand? Way to go, Diamond. Great job. When I stood before you just a few weeks ago to deliver my inaugural address, I said it was time to get to work, and we have. But the real work, the hardest work, is yet to be done. Last month, Mandela and I traveled across the state listening to Wisconsinites talk about their values and their vision for the future. We talked about policies and solutions that connect the dots. I keep saying that, connecting the dots, and I've been asked several times, what in the world do I mean by that? It's about seeing the forest through the trees. It's about seeing the connection between how a lack of access to affordable housing affects kids in their classrooms. It's about seeing the connection between drug and alcohol addiction and the burgeoning criminal justice system. It's about seeing the connection between a budding entrepreneur who wants their own business and how the rising costs of health insurance might push that dream out of reach. The budget that I'll be introducing in the next couple weeks is about connecting those dots. And to no surprise, as it always has been for me, it starts with education. Thank you. Carolyn, thank you. Connecting the dots means recognizing that what's best for our kids is best for our state. The investment we make in our kids today will yield dividends for generations. That's why our budget reaffirms our state commitment to our kids by returning to 2/3 funding for the schools across Wisconsin. And I was especially pleased to learn that the Speaker has encouraged his members to support this provision in our budget, and that I hope I can count on your support going forward. In addition to 2/3 funding, we're also going to make sure that we have the resources to support our kids with special needs. For the past decade, we've not only cut funding for our public schools, we've failed to fully fund services for special education. Now, this has forced local school districts and taxpayers to squeeze resources from other areas to provide these critical services. Our budget will provide an unprecedented $600 million increase in special education funding. This means our school districts will have enough to allocate the resources they do have to other areas of high need. And we're not just going to increase support for our kids with special needs. We're going to get to work in closing the achievement gap for low-income students and students of color. Our state's achievement gap is among the highest in the nation in reading and math scores. As state superintendent, I submitted proposals that would have helped address our state's achievement gap. Unfortunately, most of these proposals never made it through the legislative process. I believe this is the year they will. And my urban initiative programs will also empower minority students in our state's highest need districts by expanding early childhood education and summer school grant programs. It is urgent that we increase support for our low-income students and students of color. The longer we wait to invest in closing our achievement gap, the wider the gap will get and the more it will cost us in the long run. Finally, we're going to propose a 5-fold increase in mental health programs for our K-12 kids across our state. But funding mental health programming in our schools is not enough. So tonight, we renew our commitment to making sure everybody has access to quality, affordable health care. We've already started working to make sure health care in Wisconsin is affordable and accessible. We signed executive orders creating a Healthy Communities Initiative and calling upon the Department of Health Services to prioritize these goals. We also called upon our state agency to connect the dots and work together on how we can protect health care coverage for people in our state. But our work can't stop there. That's why our budget will also seek to expand Medicaid in Wisconsin. According to the Nonpartisan Legislative Fiscal Bureau, this will enable an additional 76,000 Wisconsinites to have access to affordable health care. On top of that, this would also save Wisconsin taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, allowing us to reallocate those cost savings to other critical programs. We have a real opportunity here, folks. And at the end of the day, Mr. Majority Leader and Mr. Speaker, health care should not be a partisan issue. You know, Republican states like Kentucky and Nebraska and Idaho have expanded Medicaid, and so have Democratic states such as Washington, California, and Minnesota. We should be able to get it done here too. The people of Wisconsin voted for a change this November and asked us to stop playing politics with their health care. That's why I'm announcing tonight that I have fulfilled the promise I made to the people of Wisconsin by directing Attorney General Call to withdraw from a lawsuit that would gut coverage for the 2.4 million Wisconsinites who have pre-existing conditions. I've said all along that I believe the best way to maintain protections for health care here in Wisconsin is to stop trying to dismantle those protections at the federal level. In addition, we're going to address Wisconsin's transportation funding crisis. I appointed Secretary-designee Craig Thompson because I know that he will work on both sides of the aisle for a solution that works for Wisconsin. I fully expect that he will be approved with the consent of the Senate. I've said all along that I believe we have to bring people together to work on this issue, and I believe Secretary-designee Thompson can get it done. In the coming days, we'll be announcing a task force of stakeholders to get to work on a bipartisan policy solution to be included in the people's budget. The task force will solicit feedback from key partners from all regions of the state, all sectors of the economy, and users of all different modes of transportation. And while I know that caucus members in both houses support different approaches to solving our transportation funding crisis, it's going to take sacrifices and compromise to find a long-term, comprehensive solution that works for everybody. But roads and bridges are only a small part of the infrastructure challenges facing our state. That's why I'm also declaring 2019 is a year of clean drinking water in Wisconsin. According to the Department of Health Services, 1.7 million Wisconsinites depend on private wells for water, and 47% of those wells do not meet acceptable health standards. Meanwhile, according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, we have an estimated 176,000 lead service lines across our state. Removing lead service lines could cost over $2 billion. But Pew Charitable Trust estimates that for every dollar we spend on replacing lead drinking water lines, we will see a 133% return on our investment in higher lifetime earnings and better health outcomes. What a deal. That's why in the coming weeks, I'll be signing an executive order to designate a person at the Department of Health Services to take charge on addressing Wisconsin's lead crisis and to help secure federal funding for prevention and treatment programs. We have to get this done. And finally, we're going to cut taxes by 10% for everyone making up to $100,000 a year and families making up to $150,000 a year. But sorry. But we're not going to do it by spending money we don't have or that might not be there in 2 years. I don't make promises I can't keep, and I'm not going to propose things that we can't pay for. So instead, we're going to fund tax relief for hardworking families by capping a corporate tax, 80% of it, which goes to filers making more than $1 million per year. An economy that works for all of us, healthier communities, more money for our schools and kids, better roads and infrastructure. That is what the people of Wisconsin expect from us, and that is what the people of Wisconsin deserve. Given the challenges we face, I expect the legislature will focus on these important priorities instead of being distracted by division and preventing us from working together to get things done. You know, in the governor's conference room, inscribed on the ceiling is a phrase that reads, "The will of the people is the law of the land." The will of the people is the law of the land. That means I expect legislation arriving on my desk will be passed with broad support and the spirit of bipartisanship. That means instead of taking up an entirely new budget of its own, I expect the legislature to take up the budget I crafted by and with the people of the state of Wisconsin. I'll tell you today, as I told you a few weeks ago, that I have never been more hopeful about our state and our kids' future. I have no doubt that there will be issues on which we disagree. I have no doubt that there will be times we will be frustrated by the deliberative process of democracy and making sausage. But we will engage civilly, we will have discourse and dialogue, but it will not devolve into disrespect. And we will govern with a humble appreciation that the will of the people, our people, is the law of the land. Now, let's get back to work. Thank you, and on Wisconsin.
And so that concludes Governor Tony Evers' first state